Give me a game breaker. Give me, again, you're not going to find a Jahmyr Gibbs, but give me somebody like him, and then now we can really focus on the O-line. And Craig, we cooking.
What are the other options? What are the ones that intrigue you? 301-230-0980. Let's keep things rolling on the phones with Noel in Chicago. Noel, thanks for calling as always. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, Craig. How are you doing? Good afternoon.
Thanks, man. Doing well.
Thank you. I think for the potential wideouts, I'm keeping a close eye on cuts, and I'm really interested in Christian Kirk if he gets cut by Jacksonville, because I think Kliff loves him, and I think he fits the culture of what they're trying to do really, really well. I've always liked Christian Kirk, and I think he'd be a really good number 2. I think his contract right now is $24 million. I wouldn't want to trade for him, but if he got cut, that would be awesome. And keeping an eye on Cooper Kupp too, and again, like hoping that he might get cut because I don't want to trade for him either, because that's very, very expensive. To like sign a free agent outright, the only guy that I really like that I would want on the cheap is Tyler Boyd. I think he's a free agent, and he's a big body kind of guy. I don't think he'd be a great number 2, but he would be the perfect number 3. And I'm just hoping that if either Kupp or Kirk get cut, that we should pounce on either of those two guys immediately. And this is all assuming that we re-sign Zach Ertz, and I think everything else should be all the energy should be addressed toward rebuilding the defensive line and then adding to the offensive line. So hoping that we do that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great call, and those are some good names, and I think you've got the order of operations right, too. Like, I think re-signing Ertz is critical because I think and it's because he's Jaden's safety blanket, and he was target number 2 last year. So, Noel, that's a great shout. Thanks for the call. And just to hit on a couple of these names, thanks, dude. Christian Kirk is absolutely someone I would go after, and someone that I would spend, not like he's, again, I agree with Noel. I don't want to spend $24 million on him. I don't want to take on his contract. I'm not trading for him, anything like that. But if he gets out on the free agent market and I can get Christian Kirk for 13, 14 million even, I would love to get him closer to 10 to 12. But if he winds up in the 14, 15 million range, I would consider it. He's that talented. And he has the history with Kliff, and where he was awesome for Kliff in Arizona. He can play inside, outside. He has real vertical speed. I think Christian Kirk would be a fantastic fit in Washington. Tyler Boyd is an interesting one as well. Like, when you talk about a guy that you might be able to get when you go bargain shopping, I mean, Boyd last year made like 1 point something million. I mean, this is a guy that was really good in Cincinnati as their number 3. He's getting up there in age. That is the only thing. This is going to be his age 31 season. Last year, he started 8 games in Tennessee. He had 57 targets, 39 catches. But he is 6'2", so he's got a little bit of size. And if I'm remembering, these names, I haven't watched all these guys a ton recently, obviously, but my Tyler Boyd file mentally includes that he blocks pretty well and is like very physical. So that seems to fit the mold. And so if you're getting him on the Olamide Zaccheaus deal, like, is he your wide receiver 2? No. But as you think about rounding out the receiver room around Terry, around Luke, around whoever else, like, I think that is absolutely a great name to shout out if he becomes available, and I'm pretty sure he's a free agent. I just looked at his contract, and now I don't have it up anymore, but I'm pretty sure he signed a 1-year deal in Tennessee last year, so that he should be available. Now, just real quickly, the wide receiver class in the draft, and we'll get back to the calls in a second because I know there's some more calls coming in with some other free agent and or trade names, but Shatoria McMillan's the number 1 guy, not in the Travis Hunter category, right? Hunter's in his own. Is he a DB? Is he a wide receiver? He's just Travis Hunter. Shatoria McMillan, big, tall dude out of Arizona. He's everyone's most people, I should say, is number 2 receiver. Luther Burden III is a real interesting guy. He's got big Curtis Samuel. I think Debo's a bigger body. I think Debo, even going back to South Carolina, like, I imagine Debo in that USC uniform, like, is a thicker dude than Luther Burden is. I also got questions on the, I won't say on the character, but like the competitive character front. Like, he definitely gets after it, but like sometimes it's out of control. He had one game early in the year where he picked up 2 personal foul penalties in the same game for taunting and just unsportsmanlike conduct nonsense. And I am very curious when I go to the combine next week, if I start asking around on him, if there's some other stuff with him where he might not have the commander tag and thus not be an option for them. Or is that like, no, actually he's super competitive and he will have that tag. So I don't know yet, but Burden, I also don't think is going to be available for Washington at 29. The group that starts to become available for Washington potentially at 29 probably starts with Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. And I actually watched a little bit of him this morning. He's just solid. Like, he's not special in any way. At least when I'm watching him, like, nothing pops off the tape. He's 6'1", 205, so there's nothing special in terms of the size, weight. He just reliably catches. Like, the more I watch him, the more like I get it. He just catches football after football. He has some vertical speed. There's a screen he takes against Marshall for like 70 yards, but no one touches him. He just outruns everybody, but it's against Marshall. And they have one dude who's going to go in the first round. But he's an edge. He's not their defensive backs are not the fastest. So you got him. Matthew Golden, probably off the board before Washington, but who knows? Wide receiver out of Texas, 6 foot, 195. Like, how many 6 foot, 195 guys do they really want? Alec Ayomanor, apologies, the beast with Dame Brugler and all the pronunciations aren't out yet, so I just learned these guys. But he's 6'2", 210 out of Stanford. Okay, like Logan, I talked about him a little bit this morning. Interesting, but not crazy. Logan's big on Jack Beck. A little bit bigger, 6'2", 215, plays like an animal out of TCU. He's interesting. Now we're starting to get in some guys that probably a little rich for 29, but like, are they going to be available at 61? Xavier Restrepo out of Miami, 5'10", 198, but got some more elite traits in terms of the quickness and things like that. Had 1,100 yards his last 2 years at Miami. Jaden Higgins, I know some folks in the YouTube chat brought him up. Bigger guy, 6'4", 215. Now we're talking. Jalen Royals. And then the guy that Logan absolutely loves, got just crazy excited talking about him this morning, is Savion Williams out of TCU. Listed here at 6'5", 225, but he's played some running back. So, like, imagine a Deebo Samuel type player, but he's 6'5". And he's still learning receiver on some level, like some of the ball tracking and stuff. But, like, that gets crazy interesting. And then there's some other guys, Isaiah Bond, Tez Johnson, Trey Harris. You're getting more like third-round type of grades. But there are some pieces in this draft that are interesting, but the receiver class is certainly nowhere close to where it was last year, where you had 3 elite dudes at the top and depth way into the 3rd, even 4th round of guys that some teams like really, really, really like. All right, let's keep it rolling on the calls. We got time for maybe one more. Let's go to Reggie in DC. Reggie, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, Craig, love the show as always.
Appreciate it.
I think, man, we're putting too much emphasis on like that number, air quote, well, it isn't air quote, but number 2. I think the boy Golden in Texas is a burner. I look at Detroit's offense, right? Look at their skill position. Jameson Williamson is a speedster. He's not going to be running routes. That's St. Brown. So I'm thinking like, okay, if we get somebody that can just take the top off, that if you start to cheat a little bit over to Terry, he's gone. And then you get a good tight end. I thought it was going to be Sennett. Maybe it could be that can get that yak after catch and then get a game breaker. It's about, I think you hear all the mocks. It's about 30 running backs that they're talking about that can be, that's going to come in. Give me a game breaker. Give me, again, you're not going to find a Jahmyr Gibbs, but give me somebody like him. And then now we can really focus on the O-line. And Craig, we're cooking. I just need a burner. Somebody that, again, if you make a mistake, he's going to hit his head on the goalpost. A tight end that I love Ertz. I want to keep him, but a tight end that.
But he needs an understudy this year. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, think about like some of the catches Ertz was making, right? A good young tight end, hopefully could have been Sennett, but would have made probably another 10 or 15 yards after the catch, like the young Ertz in Philly would have done.
Right.
Then that game breaker in the backfield. I think that's for me. I think that's the way I would look at it. So I want to look at Abuka. I like the guy from Ohio State. I like him, but I don't think he's not. I mean, everybody keeps comparing him to Jackson
Smith and Jigba, yeah,
which is a great comparison. But I think the boy Golden maybe going to run about a 4.3.
Well, that's the thing, Reggie, right? And unfortunately, we're up against the clock. I gotta let you run, Reggie, but great stuff, and definitely look forward to talking to you more as draft season goes here. Like, next week changes everything, right? This time a year ago, if you had told me Xavier Worthy was going to be a first-round pick, I'd been like, I know he's fast, but come on. And then he goes and breaks the combine record in the 40. And it's like, oh, no, if he's got that kind of speed, like 4.3 fast and 4.22 fast are different. That gets you drafted in the first round, right? I mean, think of the kid who had John Ross, who had it before Worthy. He wasn't a first-round receiver. It was like, maybe, I don't know. That dude got a top 10 pick because he broke the combine record, I believe, back in the day for the Bengals. So you've got the testing, which I think, obviously, the 40 is the sexy one. And for receivers, that matters. Like, if Golden goes out and runs a 4.31, that's going to change the conversation around this receiver class. Great. Fine. Let's go see it happen. But you also have the arm length measurements for the O-lineman. Guy that we think has 32.5-inch arms comes out with 34-inch arms. It's like, oh, he's got that kind of length? We can work with that. That dude went from like, guard tackle to like, that dude's a tackle. Let's go get him. In a draft where there's a ton of those guard tackle hybrids. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to come out, I would say, over the next 2 weeks. Obviously, there's a lot of media that happens in the draft or at the combine early in the week, which is why we'll be there Tuesday, Wednesday. But by the time I get back on Friday, we'll have started to get some of the measurements in and the workouts are starting to begin. And the week after, we'll have all that stuff in and we'll be able to talk about this draft a lot more intelligently. Logan and I did a big mock draft 1.0. We wound up talking about a lot of these names in depth, including a lot of the receivers that you can check out on Take Command. Tomorrow morning is where you catch that in your podcast feed. So make sure you're subscribed to Take Command.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.